If a man wants to have sex with a woman, what does he have to do for that woman?
The things that she wants him to do in order to like make her feel safe, feel comfortable, attracted to him, romantic, set up an environment.
And we want to have sex with you. So what are we gonna do?
All the things.
And as women, what do you want from men?
A lot of things.
But in this case,
in this particular case, yes, we want you to be emotionally vulnerable.
So when it makes sense that you do the thing to make the man more comfortable to like do that, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like, hey, tell me. See, exactly. That's how I feel. Yeah, tell me how you feel. Tell me everything about how you feeling. Tell me what you thought. Tell me like, no, damn, get off me. Like, I'm not comfortable. Hey, what up, everybody? It's your boy Brandan, and I am joined today by my beautiful partner and co-host.
Hey, y'all, it's Ciandra.
Welcome to another episode of the Buffet Podcast with, I just said it, Brandan Ciandra.
Where we give you endless food for thought.
Yes. See, you're in my head. Come eat with us, y'all.
Yeah, we started this podcast to review the questions we've asked and continue to ask each other since we started dating. You can expect for our conversations to be real, raw, and sometimes spicy. We are young professionals based out of the Houston area, and we both have backgrounds in counseling. You can expect for us to ask a lot of questions, but we won't have all the answers. So come eat with us.
Let us know. All right, so what we getting into today, babe? In this episode 71.
71. Let's start with the date night segment that I'm trying to make a thing. I feel very much like Gretchen. Stop trying to make fetch a thing. You don't know that reference because you haven't seen Mean Girls.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately.
I guess.
But we're going to get you there, babe. It's a classic.
Yeah, I mean, it's referenced a lot. So
eventually
I'll get there. We'll see.
We're going to pop that cherry. So the date night segment that I wanted us to introduce is just us sharing about a recent date night that we had, some good things that happened there, and give y'all some inspiration for date nights if you're looking for some.
And also feel free to let us know how some of y'all dates have been. Give me some good memorable dates that y'all may have been on or planning on going to. Let us know. We might want to take that and use it for our own.
Yeah, try it out.
All right, so go ahead, babe. I know last time
you did answer. Okay, y'all, we went to go see Giveon. And if you don't know who Giveon is, he's an R&B artist. And I really enjoy his music. And we had a really good time. I feel like Brandon had a significantly better time than what he had at the Alex Isley concert.
It was less annoyances.
Yes, we were sitting down. We also had like entertainment from the folks who were in the crowd with us. The girl next to us was a Giveon.
All around us.
Yeah, they were. Like all the women around us were like, Giveon is my man. I'm in love with him. And he has this song where he says like, pretty brown skin in Houston, I saw you from a mile away. And so he like walked into the crowd and he's like, is she here? And they're like, it's me. He's like, is she here? Like, it's me. He's like,
crazy.
You can't all be her.
It can't be all y'all.
It can't be all of y'all.
I think somebody passed out. I think somebody did pass out. He had to stop the show because he went for to get Travis Scotted.
Yeah, someone did pass out. The girl in front of us, who is not brown skinned, by the way, was like, it's me. I'm right here. I'm like, girl, stop the cap. Okay.
Big cap. They don't hear that part.
Caparoni. They don't hear that. It's just a girl in Houston. They totally ignore the brown skin part. But it was very good. We had a good old drink.
It was very tasty.
The drink was not the experience that we had again at Alex Isley, where it was like pre-made. I think you said they made it in front of you. It was good.
It's a real bar.
A real bar. It was nice. And the music hall here in Houston, which is next to Post, is very spacious and like a much bigger venue than I anticipated it being.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, and the performance and production value was significantly higher. There was lights and like
live band.
It was just like a vibe.
It was crazy. And we had a dude in the back right behind us is like ad-libbing.
Yeah.
What? I'm like, what? Where is he? What's going on right now? But yeah, it was amusing. One of the girl called me out. You feel me?
She did.
Yeah, it was like, I see your girl. She's singing. Why you not singing? Are you even a fan? I'm like, leave me alone. I'm singing in my head.
Yes, that was Brandan's line. I'm singing in my head. She didn't come back for him. He was singing sometimes. Yeah. The little bit of words that you knew. Sometimes I was like hearing something and I was like, is that my man singing these words? Because you really don't be singing in the house the way that I be singing in the house.
I don't. No.
Yeah. But it was good.
It was good.
It was a really good time. So this was a good time, right?
Yeah.
So another vote for an R&B concert. Get the feels, hear the good music, sing your little heart out. For a good portion of it, at least the first like 2 or 3 songs, it was just a sing along. I'm like, we can't even hear Giveon. We just in here singing with him. Like this is not a concert anymore.
It was good.
Yeah, but it was really good. It was a fun time.
Excellent date.
Yeah. Thank you, babe.
It happened like yesterday, so.
So it's still fresh, still riding the high.
That's facts. Okay, that's a good one. Like, going to a concert together, anything of the arts and stuff like that, it's usually a good idea, I guess. Oh man, assuming both of y'all are into that type of thing, but y'all bang with us, so I'm assuming y'all do.
It's a good experience. Yeah.
All right, bet. On to the next part.
All right, we are moves booshing it, first plating it.
Okay, all right. So we going. So is this still the first plate? The date night's not the first plate anymore?
No, the date night is a date night.
Fair enough.
Moose boosh is a moose boosh. Give it its space.
All right, what's that moose boosh?
Okay, so I have a video for y'all from TD Jakes. It's an older video, and we're gonna listen to it and respond.
Okay.
His body trusting her. It's not about his heart trusting her, because we are about our hearts the way you are about your bodies. I want to know, are you safe to love? I want to know, can I trust you with love? I want to know, if I tell you my secrets, will you respect me in the morning? Am I the only man in here? Where are my brothers at? To know, if I tell you what it was really like to grow up in my house, will you not act funny when we go to the family reunion? Or will you sit up there with your lips all swole up and create a problem for me because you can't control your emotions? And I want to know that if I tell you what really happened in the house, will you, in a fit of anger, turn on me and use what I told you in a moment of weakness against me? Because if you do that, you're telling me that I cannot trust you. And you teach me to shut up. Every time you betray my trust, you seal in me another layer of silence. And when I scream, I die screaming, and you can't hear me, and you never know why I died, because you taught me not to talk to you when you use my talk against me. Emotions. You say we have no emotions, you haven't got a clue. We got emotions you never even saw. We got screams you haven't heard. We got poetry that's never been written. We've got love shut up in our hearts and in our minds and in our guts, our bowels, our loins, that never reaches you. Because you cannot hear the language we speak.
There we go. That was the end.
Damn.
It's a 2-minute clip. Yeah. It was a little bit long.
Woo.
Guess I should have forewarned y'all.
The TD be talking, don't he?
Yeah.
He be saying this thing, boy. He know how to get a message across, boy.
In the bowels.
In the bowels and the loins. Like, okay.
What's your immediate response to that, babe?
It's a lot of truth in that. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that's a lot of truth in that. It hasn't. Yeah, that's true. It's very hard for a guy in general just to be vulnerable. I mean, there are some people who are, comes easier to than others, but I'm saying this in general. Being vulnerable emotionally is not something that is encouraged in boys and men, which is kind of funny because the people in which we learn not to show that emotion to, it comes from women, because Black people are it's a matriarchal. 9 times out of 10, you grew up surrounded by nothing but women. You probably learned those lessons from women. So you grow up, and then of course the men around you also kind of reinforce that as well. But it's just kind of like, you're a boy, what I'm saying? You don't cry, what I'm saying? You tough it up. You don't, you don't be acting like a bitch, that type of stuff. And then you grow up, you get in a relationship, and then suddenly everything they told you that you shouldn't be doing, now all of a sudden they want it. But at the same time, there's definitely for sure a large fear that if I tell you something, it's not in confidence. It's only in confidence. And so as long as I do not anger you in some way further down the line, that it can and will be used against you
in a court of law.
Yeah. So I would think just for in general, once that happens one time, we've seen or heard online, a lot of people complain that hey, it'd be one girl who do a man dirty, and then he becomes a monster, and he runs and he breaks nothing but hearts after that. It's dude learns quick. You sometimes a little too quick. If the first time something I say to you from the heart or something, I'm allow myself to be vulnerable with you, and then it's used against me, or you fuck around and tell your best friend, or it ends up in a group chat, or you tell your mama because you and your mama got some very close relationship. I can't trust you no more. I know now I can't tell you certain things.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, it sounds like in this particular clip, one of the things that he says is you're teaching me what I can tell you. And that's a big part of any relationship. You may already have your guards, your barriers, your walls built up when you're entering into something. And that's natural, right? We've had other experiences that teach us what we're comfortable with sharing. So anytime you enter into a relationship, you're testing the waters to make sure that it is a place that you can feel safe enough to share what your truths are and be vulnerable. And so if you do something to show that you can't be trusted, you run the risk, a very high risk of shutting that part of that person off from you forever. I guess my thought process, or a part of my response to it is that could be true of both sides. And then where does that leave you? If we enter into a situation, it's I have walls built up, and I have barriers, and I have, these things that I'm expecting you to kind of help me process and get through. And then you also have walls and barriers or things that you feel you need to process in order to be vulnerable. What we gonna do? We just gonna be standing on opposite sides of walls and not actually be able to communicate? So I feel that would be my only concern of this is if I'm the teacher for you, aren't you also the teacher for me? If a negative thing happens and you feel shut off, and then that my response to that is now I am also shut off, we can't even have a relationship anymore. Someone's gonna have to at a certain point be the bigger person or do some type of leveling to say hey, we can't just dead this forever, or we might as well just dead this relationship.
Yeah, in a ideal relationship, that's usually what happens. That's not what happens in real life. Two people come at a crossroads, especially in a relationship. That I believe it's been kind of the understanding that the guy will take it on the chin. So if I'm feeling some type of way, you feeling some type of way, the man is usually going to be fuck it, I'm just gonna take it, and then cater to you and let you reach whatever resolution you feel you need in order to move forward, and I'm just going to sit here in silence and not because my problem is not going to be taken seriously.
I don't think that's fair.
I know. I mean, it's absolutely not fair. And I think TD Jakes indicated like towards the very beginning, it was like the way that women are protective about their bodies and giving away sex. That's how men feel about like their emotions and being vulnerable in front of people. Like that's something that is reserved only for the most highly trusted of people. Like highly, like I have absolute like truth and belief that you would never ever, you would die with this information. And a lot of women have proven that they not that. They prove that to the people they're in a relationship with. I mean, I'm sure the same can be true for women and men when it comes to like, you know, cheating and things of that nature. But I'm saying like for men in general, it is that vulnerability part that really fucks us up. Like you hurt us emotionally, that's a betrayal that like you can't come back from.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, I hear what you're saying and think that leaves everyone in a sore spot because.
Yeah, for sure. My fault.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think because of that, I think a lot of men believe this to be true when they go in a relationship. It's like, society don't give a shit about how men feel or the issues that you got going on. They don't give a fuck about none of that. They just care about what you can produce and what you can do. And society kind of reinforces that. You know what I'm saying? Like you see anything with like a man being like emotional or something like that is made like it's downgraded. You know what I'm saying? Like people was making fun of Drake because he was singing songs about his emotions when he first came out. Like every time it looks like a man is trying to do something like that, it is not given like like thumbs up. Awesome. This is amazing. This is something we want to see. So we see like, okay, obviously this is not something you want to like, that's acceptable, you know, for us to do. And, you know, that, like I said before, just like the fear of it being used against us is just, it doesn't make sense, you know, for us to do that. So it's reserved generally for like our closest of friends, boys. So that's what, you know, that kind of goes and ties into like why it feels like a lot of dudes seem like weirdly close to their boys as opposed to like their girlfriends or significant others, because like they got that trust. And I was going somewhere else with this, but I lost it.
Well, I hope you find it. What I would add about what you're saying, the other thing that I think about men's emotions, like in public spaces, it has to be extreme in order for other people to understand. Like a man can't have the same emotional response to something that a woman can without it, like you're saying, like it being made fun of or being seen as trivial. If it's extreme, then it's okay, or like it's understandable.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for guys, the only emotions that seems to be acceptable for us to express is either it's like anger or like humor, you know, like anger and like happiness and stuff. Anger, but mostly anger. Like if you see a dude yelling, that's like, okay, that makes sense because that's what dudes do. If a woman starts yelling, we're like, lower your tone. Mm-hmm. I mean, so. I don't know. It feels like, yeah, like you said, the emotional variety that men are allowed to express outwardly is very limited as opposed to a woman.
Did it come back to you yet?
No.
I'm sorry.
No. That's okay. It'll come back when it come back. It'll probably come back in like an inopportune time, but we'll get to it when it does.
Yeah. The last thing that I wanted to add in thinking about this is thinking about the range of emotions, like to what we were just saying, like the range of emotions that men in particular have and that they don't get to express. Because one of the things that he was saying is like, you can't hear us. Like we could be screaming out about these things and like experiencing these things and have things that are unexpressed, but you can't hear us. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if, from your perspective, whose responsibility is it to get that out? Is it the man's responsibility to like get that out? Is it the woman's responsibility to cultivate an environment in which, you know, the man can be heard? Like, how do we fix it?
I'm writing down my thoughts so I don't forget it. But
okay.
So you're asking me, I just want to confirm that you're asking whose responsibility is for the message that like if we have something that we want you to know, or we're trying to tell you something, is it our responsibility to tell you, or is it your responsibility to make an easy space for me to tell you? Mm-hmm. Well, I definitely think it's both. Absolutely, it's both. I think in this scenario in which we're outlining, it is kind of the woman's responsibility to kind of help cultivate an environment where men feel safe in order to be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. So I mean, so to bring it back to the comparison about women and their bodies and men and their emotions. Mm-hmm. If a man wants to have sex with a woman, what does he have to do for that woman?
The things that she wants him to do in order to like make her feel safe, feel comfortable, attracted to him, romantic, set up an environment.
And we want to have sex with you. So what are we gonna do?
All the things.
And as women, what do you want from men?
A lot of things.
But in this case,
in this particular case, yes, we want you to be emotionally vulnerable.
So when it makes sense that you do the thing to make the man more comfortable to like do that, mm-hmm. So
yeah,
like, hey, tell me. See, exactly. That's how I feel. Yeah, tell me how you feel. Tell me everything about how you feel, and tell me what you thought. Tell me like, no, damn, get off me. Like, I'm not comfortable.
Mm-hmm. What do you think would make men more comfortable?
I don't know. I think each guy is different. Just like when men ask, hey, what will make all women comfortable in order to get that booty up? Every woman is different. Every man is different. Every man got different traumas, different issues going on. Some dudes can tell you, they can come into the relationship being, hey, I can tell you, X, Y, and Z, no problem. Some people need a little prodding. Sometimes some people some guys just need a little bit of time to see how you move. Okay, cool. I'm ready. So it's just, you got to play it by ear. I think that's a very good question that you need to ask, that needs to be asked, for two men. Mm-hmm. That you're like in a relationship, interested in stuff like that. Yeah. So like, just like the man ask immediately, like, or not necessarily ask like outright, but they gathering information.
You giving up the
like
cheek.
That's one of the first questions. Be like, yo, what needs to happen? What can I do to make you feel more comfortable so I can get what I want out of this? Mm-hmm. So like, why can't you do the same thing? Mm-hmm. To continue on, I guess, about who is kind of responsible for communicating this. Excuse me, my fault.
Yeah, y'all saw that, right? Nope. You saw him hit me on the internet?
Nope.
Didn't you see it?
Nope.
He was like,
cut all that
blank,
out.
blank, 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 blah, blah, blue, blue. And I hit him back because I'm not that type of woman. It's happening again?
I'm Keanu Reeves in you.
Hovering hand. I hover-handed you.
Mm.
You bling, bling, blah, blue. Mm.
Yeah.
Soft touch.
So another point I wanted to make is that when it comes to the communication part of like expressing how we feel, and like women not being able to hear it, I think that goes back to what you're saying. Is like, yeah, it's a breakdown in communication. Mm-hmm. When it comes to emotional vulnerability and stuff like that, I think the standard has been like women's language. Mm. So that's the only language that women understand, and then those are the people who are pushing for that emotion to be expressed to them, but they want to hear it how they do it, and it seems like there is no willingness or even like consideration to learn how men communicate, because like how men communicate is different than how women communicate. So when men try to do it, we get hit back with the tonnage, or I don't like how you said it, but it's like, this is my language. This is how I communicate to you. This is how I'm best going to be able to communicate how I'm feeling to you. I can't learn a new language and then be able, and I'm not fluent in that. So the messaging is going to be lost. Mm-hmm. So, so it's like you can't express yourself in Spanish anywhere close to how well you can in like your native tongue. Yeah. So it doesn't, but it doesn't feel like the other side who's demanding of this information is willing to like learn my language, and it doesn't seem fair. So it's like, as a man, it's like, did the man just tell me, or be more vulnerable and tell me how you feel and things of that nature, but like it has to be how she speaks. But it's like that, no, like I have a way how I can communicate it, but by you, I mean women in general, are making it seem like that's not good enough. So it's like, beggars can be choosers here. You know, you want this information. I'm willing to tell it to you, but this is how I say it. But if you don't want to hear it like that, then fuck it. I'm not going to say nothing.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really good point. It makes a lot of sense, babe. I think that's not something that I don't think that that's something that women walk into a relationship expecting to be true, though. I think that like learning that men and women communicate in a different way, if you haven't had any intimate experience like living in it wouldn't matter.
No, it doesn't. Yeah,
I'm thinking like it's not that I don't know any men or like haven't lived with my dad. The way that he's going to talk to me is not the way that he's going to talk to another man. Is not the way that maybe even he talks to my mom. So even like having that second hand experience of seeing it doesn't, they don't have the type of intimate conversations in front of me that they would have that would, you know, give me the opportunity to have the purview to know that like I need to listen in this way, or that like he's going to express himself in this way and this is how I best respond to it to make him feel seen and to make him feel heard. Right. So I think experience is the best teacher. And so that's why I feel like when I was asking the question earlier of like responsibility, I definitely think it's a shared responsibility, because it's like we are both at a disadvantage here. I don't know how to listen to you because I haven't had any practice listening to you. I know how to listen to other women. I know how to listen to myself, and I know how to communicate. And I have been taught that my way is the right way. So I think that what I'm doing is correct. I'm trying to help you get to this promised land of the right way, because I think that not only is it the right way, it's the only way.
Yes.
There's no other way for you to be able to do this thing. And so you're coming at me like, I can do this, but I can do this. Can I do this my way? Because that'll make it easier for me to be able to do this. Also, I'm not very comfortable with doing this. And a woman is like,
no.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but
your way is stupid.
Yeah. Why can you try? Why you won't try to do it the way that I want you to do it? You can't do it? Are you sure? You need to try. So yeah, I hear you.
It's a lot of emotional arrogance that a lot of women have, you know. And I almost can't blame them, because like that's what's been kind of like taught to them, kind of sort of. That's like they have never had to face a world in which like how you communicate has been, I guess, told that was wrong in some way, you know. So I think a lot of women come into the relationship just automatically just assuming like this is the only way, and if you can't meet what I believe to be the standard, that means that you must be incompetent in some way. So let me educate you. So it's a little arrogant and can be a little condescending a little bit. Yeah. But what is funny is I feel like this information has been known, at least by men, for decades minimum. But somehow women seem to like not pick that up. Like men have been saying like, yo, we speak differently. This is how we speak. This is what it looks like. And then women's like, no, you wrong. I'm like, what more can we do to let you know?
What do you want from me? I don't know, babe. I don't know that I've been in a space where I've like had this realization forever, or that it is something.
Well, it's not necessarily a realization. I'm saying like the information is so. It's like this realization, that information to come to that realization it's not hidden.
Yeah, it's not. It's new information.
It's not like you trip and fell and you found it under like some secret in the cave in the Amazon and you found the secret knowledge. Like this knowledge has been like available for like consumption for decades. That men have been screaming it from the mountaintops.
Well, that speaks to the value of the information. If people are devaluing the information and don't regard it as information that they should use for their betterment, then that's why it's not widely recognized as a truth. Because it's like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but
what do you think that says about how women view men, and then like their ability to communicate and their ability to recognize their own emotions?
What do I think that says about women's?
Like, what do you think that says about the overall belief that women have towards men and their ability to communicate their emotions and be aware of their own emotions and things and what they want and need?
I don't think that women believe that men are capable of that. So in some ways, yeah. I think that they're for the acceptable emotions or the emotions that we are prepared to see in men that we've all, like, again, we've all been socialized and had the same education around emotions. Like, it's, while your education was different, I was right there, like, as a girl, seeing boys be told not to cry or like be told not to man up. And so I was socialized in the same environment and thought, like, okay, well, men express their emotions in these ways, but they don't have any idea about how to express these other set of emotions. So if I'm coming into a situation where I want a man to be able to express his emotions, then I'm going to have to poke, prod, coach this person to a place where they would be able to express their emotions to me in a way that I could understand, and that they could also even identify these emotions. Because I think that there is like an assumption that you only know the emotions that you've been conditioned to like express.
I mean, I think there's some truth to that. I think because of that suppression of the emotions from men, like, we've learned to like not feel them, but like not acknowledge them, and so like all the emotions we don't recognize what they are, and then when we're confused, it quickly jumps to anger. So like, when you feel confusion, the brain doesn't like confusion, so it's easy to jump to and be angry instead of being confused, because we know anger is base. Babies out the womb know anger.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. It's cold out here.
It's a cold game, baby.
So I guess the follow up to this piece would be, I guess, how can women cultivate an environment in which it is a safe space? I feel like we might have talked about this before, but I'm not 100%. But I'm asking the question again. Okay.
Also, have we moved on from the first plate and we're in the real part?
Yeah, I think we like segued into that.
Ooh, you saw that smooth.
Yeah, it's so smooth. We didn't even know we did it. So in case to catch y'all up, I guess the main plate is like vulnerability and how it's vulnerable.
Why is it important?
Why is it important?
Yeah, to be emotionally vulnerable in relationships. I hope y'all didn't hear that. But I, in responding to your question, you said that.
Oh, how can women cultivate
that space?
Yeah.
I think you cultivate that space in your response to whatever emotional vulnerability you initially get. I think, like the clip said, and I feel like you're saying as well, is that like you are teaching a man how much trust he can have in you. And each time he shares something with you, even something as small as like how his day went, if he was upset with something, if he was, a little sad about something, worried about something, that kind of little breadcrumb is a test of like, okay, how is this person going to respond to this information? How do they care for me in response to this information? Like, how do they show up for me with this information? Do they hear me? And am I going to be able to continue to share? Because if you've ever had the experience of someone like telling you something and then stop telling you that thing, like not sharing that piece of their life anymore, a part of the reason that they stopped is based off of your response the first time. Like you didn't respond in the way that they were expecting. They weren't comfortable with your response. Your response made them feel like they weren't being seen or heard. If they clam up, then you lost them. And you have to be, you as the receiver of that information are responsible for, doing your due diligence to make sure that they're in a space that they feel comfortable. And also about like, I think for me, if I truly care about something, I'm going to follow up on it. So if you tell me you're feeling some type of way and like we talk about it, you maybe feel resolved after we have a conversation about it, I'm going to give you the space and time to like process it some more. And then I'm going to follow up like, hey, I know we talked about X the other day. Is that still something that's on your mind? Like, how are you feeling about it now? I think like that type of like follow up and investment of energy into something that the person is experiencing also makes a difference.
I hear that. But I also think that's
woman.
No, well, I wasn't going to go that way. I was just going to say that that is situational, not situational, but
situational
by
the context.
The context. And
if you tell me some deep dark secret about your childhood, I'm not just gonna be like, hey, on Wednesday you said this thing about booty holes, and I just wanted to follow up and see how you were feeling about that. No, not that.
Yeah,
but like something small, I think you should follow up on. I think another thing about like, and this is less cultivating, is just more like understanding the differences in the way that men and women communicate. I heard on the Amanda Seales podcast a long time ago, and I think that it was confirmed in the book that we read about like the difference in the way that like men and women look at each other when they're communicating. So like how men can be sitting next to each other, looking straight ahead, having a conversation, and like reveal some deep truth about each other. But for women, it's often like intimate conversation is matched with eye contact, with physical closeness, things like that. And that isn't true of men. So like having a conversation when you are driving, or when you're walking, or when you are like laying down in bed, like pillow talking, something like that, like those kind of spaces may create more of the intimacy and the safe environment for a man, because you're not having that like, I'm staring you in your face while you're telling me this like deep thing.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely correct in that is another communication difference for men, because men, eye contact is like a challenge. It's like if you're making eye contact to me, that's like what's up? So for a woman, so you have my absolute attention, but I'm not looking at you from like let's talk about it nicely, and I'm like, we're about to go to battle right now. But a lot of women would like try to look in your eye and then start yelling at you, and then for a man's mind, that's like you are like, I'm fighting the reflex to get into fight mode, so I go into defense. And so it's much more comfortable to like not look you straight in the eye, because like that means something different for us out here. But I don't think a lot of women understand that. Yeah.
What would you say in response to that question? Like, what do you think? And you can speak in general, or you can speak specifically to yourself. Like, what things help cultivate an environment where you feel like you can be vulnerable?
That's a very good question. I think for me personally is, cause I don't know everybody else. For me, I feel like if I feel like I can talk to you, like if I feel like if I haven't had any, it takes time. Let me just keep it a stack off top.
That was the thing that I was expecting you to say.
Off top, it's going to take time. You're not getting this off first date, off second date, off third date. Like I'm open, but open and vulnerable is not the same thing. So for the vulnerability part, it's going to take time. I need to see like history of like you giving a fuck about what I think or what I feel. Like I don't need to feel like if I expressed a thought or a belief to you, it's not immediately like thrown to the side or made to feel less than. If we can peacefully resolve conflict, like if a conflict can be de-escalated and resolved rather than like going and escalating and going into like yelling matches and screaming matches. If you're a yeller when you're angry, red flag. I already know. I can't. That means to me that means like you have a lower ability, a less ability to regulate your emotions when they are heightened. So which means to me that you are more likely to like do or say something in the moment that you will not take back, which means if I tell you something, it might come back. You might say some shit to hurt me out of spite, because when people get angry and stuff like that, that's more likely to happen. And I like to see, like just your general temperament, how your general temperament is. So all of that goes into consideration before we even get into like the time on top of that.
And how much time? Because I think the thing in hearing time is like, when we equate the emotional vulnerability to women's, valuing of their bodies, there's only but so much time that that we as a society have come to like normalize before you have sex. Like it happens after this much time, or like it's normal to have it happen after this many dates or whatever. And so I'm wondering if we can put a timestamp on that and say that there is a timeline in which you should feel comfortable to do this. Where is a timestamp for emotional vulnerability? Even if it's not everything. I'm not saying open the floodgates, but I'm saying like
you should be able to tell me like how you feel in general about things. Yeah, I would say within like the first 3 months in general, but just like with women and like their bodies, there is no generally accepted standard. There is no argument that was won with after the third date or the world said after 3 months you need to give me, or after a month, 30 days, you need to give me the cheeks. That don't work. Like, it don't work like that. Every woman is different. Every woman, you might be able to get off the first date. You might not even need a date. So some woman is like, hey, you gotta marry me first. Some woman is like, hey, for you is right now. For you is never, or 3 months, or whatever it may be. So like, I don't think that's a good equivalent. But at the end of the day, I do believe is whenever you're comfortable.
Mm-hmm. But I guess my response to that is like, okay, maybe there isn't a universal agreed upon time, but I do think that men walk into a situation with an expectation of how long it should take. I don't think
for sex.
Yeah, like I think that men are like, it should take up until this point, or you got this long to be able to make a decision.
That's true.
And I'm saying, is there a space where that standard can be set on the other side of like,
absolutely.
It should take so long before you start telling me some of these truths.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you on that. I think there should be like a general ballpark or like understanding of like how long it should take before like the basic amount of like vulnerability can be expected. And of course there's the plus or minus depending on each person, and then that would be up to the woman to determine like if that's something that you're willing to put up with. Just like if a woman has a 3-month rule of no sex, it's up to the man to be like, okay, I'll wait that out, or another man be like, nah, I'm out. You know what I mean? So like if I say, hey, I'm 6 months, and you be like, I don't know if I want to wait 6 months to get some basic get the vulnerability out of you, I'm out. Mm-hmm. So you just gotta play that. That's just gonna be part of the game. But in general, I also do believe that men don't really have these conversations. There's plenty of talk about women and amongst women about how long you should wait and things of that nature. But it's not a lot of talk amongst men about like how long until you start showing or being vulnerable with the person that you're dating or in a relationship with. And perhaps there should be more talk about that. But if you were to ask me, I would say within the first 3 months, I feel like you should be at least the basic. I'm not saying you out here telling them like TDJ said about like, hey, what it was like growing up in your mama house, or like, what happened when, look, cousin so-and-so did such and such to you. Like that don't need to come out. That can take however long you feel until you're comfortable talking about it. Just like, with sex, you're not jumping out the gate going straight for, you're not doing, you're not going straight kink, you know what I mean? Like you gotta, I mean, excuse me, there are some people, I'm saying it's whatever, but I'm saying in general for the average person out here, I feel like, I'm saying you're not jumping straight into sounding.
Why is that always the example?
Because it's the one that comes to mind that's like, wow, that's crazy. That's wild. You out here, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You're not jumping straight into anal.
Or are you?
You might, but I'm saying I think it's understood that's not the general consensus.
Yeah,
like anal is not anal is not the first sexual act that you do.
No,
in general. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
I feel that, and I feel like we've talked a decent amount about emotional vulnerability, but I like for us to like define it and give some examples of like what it might look like, especially at this basic level that you're talking about of like, in 1 to 3 months you should be able to get this out of a person. What does that even look like?
Another good follow-up question. We did say we was going to ask questions, but we may not always have the answers. But for this, I guess the basic monogamy, I think, is the openness. Mm-hmm. Within 3 months, I feel like you should be able to be vulnerable in the moment about things that are currently happening.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think that's a good one. So like if you have a bad day, don't hide your bad day from the person that you're dating because you feel like you're trying to protect them or like protect your image. Just like
if someone pissed you off, like be okay saying like, hey, this person's pissed me off, or if your girl pissed you off, hey, yo, you make me feel this way, la da da da. I think that's acceptable. I would hope so, because like if you can't get that off, like I don't know how good the relationship, how you going to get better in the relationship, but I think that should be like the basic level that everyone should get, and then like as you get further along until you get to put the time in and you start seeing that okay, maybe this person is worthy of this precious thing that is your deep emotional vulnerability. That's when you start telling like, hey, like when I was such and such, this is what happened, like X and Y and Z was very abusive, or whatever issue or traumas or whatever it may happen, like those things can start coming out further down the line.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a great like rule of thumb is like you're emotionally vulnerable about what's happening in the moment early on, so the person gets a fuller experience of like where you're at, who you are, and then as your relationship grows and time gets put in, especially like to what he was saying in the clip of like family, right? Like your family of origin stuff is going to be important for that person to know if they plan on having a family with you and like want to meet your family of origin and understand those relationships, like being emotionally vulnerable in that way and kind of sharing what that experience was like.
I hear that, but I can't. I'm of two minds about that part of TD Jakes thing about like, if I tell you something about what happened, what was like growing up in my house, are you gonna like be able to like act like nothing happened when you were around the family? Like on one hand, like I get that, but on the other hand, it's like, bro, like you really gonna tell me that such and such did this to you, and you want me to just be like, haha, what's up, bro? When I see him next, like, no. That's not finna happen, my guy.
I hear you. I mean, I feel like it depends on what the offense was.
Agreed.
And if the offense is something that I've been able to move past, or I mean, I think that's the other part of it. If it's the offense is something that I've been able to move past and heal from, then I would want you to take the time and space, like be upset, especially if it's something that hurt me. But then to get to that healed place with me, like especially if I'm sharing it from a healed place. Now, if I'm still pissed about it, then you got every right to be pissed about it and like show up and be pissed. But if I've healed from it, like,
that's a good point.
Be empathetic to what that experience was like. But the me right now is not upset anymore. So let's go ahead past it.
That's real. But what if they not healed from it, but they're pretending like it is? Because come on. Let's keep it a stack here. Like there's a lot of bullshit that go on in our houses growing up that have us feeling a certain way to this day. To this day. But because propriety being what it is, like you're not allowed to. Like you can't talk back to the elders, or your mom or your auntie. You can't express anger or frustration to them. You just got to suck it up and be like, I love you. La, la, la. But behind closed doors, I know that you really dislike these people for what they do to you and how they make you feel. But then when you get around them, you got to act like nothing sweet. I know this information. What I'm supposed to do with that?
I don't know. That's a tough one. If it were me, I'm playing it how you play it. Like, this is still your family of origin. You get to have the relationship with these people that you want to have. And it's always more complicated than what it seems like. I think that's the other part of like wanting to be supportive and empathetic towards your partner. So like, that's fucked up that happened to you. And I'm upset that this person caused you pain at this point in your life and that you're still having to deal with that. I don't like that. I don't want anyone to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want anyone to be the cause of pain or stress in your life. So I'm pissed about that. But also, this is your family of origin and you want to have a relationship with them. And so if you want to have a relationship with them and you're not at a place right now where you're ready to confront it or interested in confronting it, I'm going to support you in whatever decision you make, because I don't want you to go without family. Like, I don't want you to feel like you don't have family because they acting a plum fool. Like, I still want, if you want to have family, you want to have a relationship with them and there isn't any boundary that we can set or that you're comfortable setting right now, I'm gonna rock with you. I'm gonna still say something to you in private. I'm not gonna make a scene. Like, how do we best set you up for success before we go into this environment? What boundary do we need to set? Do I need to be the bad guy? Do I need to say, oh no, we don't do that? I don't like when people talk to him like that. I really would appreciate it if you stop. If that's what needs to happen, then that's fine. Like, I can be the bad guy.
And that, gentlemen, is how you start cultivating an environment of feeling comfortable, being like vulnerable with your woman. Yeah. Hearing shit like that. Yeah. It's like, oh, like you, like, run the play. What's the play? Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, like not feeling like you were alone in this.
Yeah, because that's really what it's about. It's like, I can't bully my way into or act on your emotions. But how you want to play this? Right. And whatever way you want to play this, I'm going to act accordingly and make sure that you feel your best both going into it and leaving the situation. Because that's what it's about. I don't want nobody to hurt you.
And that says to me that you are on my team. Yeah, like you want us and me to win. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who wouldn't do that. They would just be like, all right, I'm running the play like this, and I'm also not going to tell you this. So you go to this family reunion, and it's something like, you ain't doing this to my man. I'm tired of you doing that. I'm like, whoa, now you see
the block is hot.
Yeah, the block is hot. But you come to me, it's like, hey, before we go in there, what we need to do, you know what I'm saying? I know how you feel about X, Y, and Z situation. We know such and such is going to be there. What we need to do, like, get you right mentally, you know, emotionally before we go in there. How you want to, what you need me to do if, like, you get caught in a moment and you know, get a little overwhelmed. Like, what, any signals? You need a signal for me to come see you? What you need? You need me to be the bad guy? You need me to go in and slap a bitch? Like, what's up? What you need? How you want to play it? Having that right there, that would take a large weight off my, like, okay, I'm not alone. Like, I got somebody who support me, and just having that knowledge there can make going into a shitty situation like bearable. Mm-hmm. And I think that is true not only in just like the family issue. That's just in life. Like, you feel like if you feel like you got a partner who's on your side, you can fucking take over the world. So I think what you just demonstrated today, those questions that you just asked me about the hypothetical family reunion or whatever it may be, that is a large message to me that, like, okay, I could tell you shit. Like, okay, she makes me feel better. And that is also one of the things I would look for in, like, my partner, and being able to continue to be vulnerable with you. Is like, when I tell you these things, do I feel exposed or do I feel better? I'm saying, do I feel do I feel like I just made a mistake? Do I feel I feel like, for example, like for a woman who gives it up a little too soon, or give it to a dude that she really feeling it, you feel a little violated, a little dirty, a little bit. Do I feel that way when I say that to you, or do I feel like, okay, I like that, this is a good time, let's do this again?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, babe. I think that, like, I mean, that's what I was saying earlier, like how the person responds is like an indicator of, like, if you're cultivating the correct environment, but also how you internally feel. It's like, because being vulnerable is a lie. It's very easy to feel exposed. Like, shit, am I saying too much? Should I not have said this? Is this too much for this other person to handle? Like, it feels like a lot. And so if you can leave the situation and feel good about it, and like, okay, we could do this again. Like, I'm not scared of doing this again. That's good. And you don't have to, I think another good sign is, like, you don't have to have a conversation about being vulnerable again, if that makes sense. Of, like, I was vulnerable, but then I didn't feel good about it. So then we had to talk about why I didn't feel good about it, and, like, what we can do differently the next time. I think that's another good sign of, like, where we at.
That's real.
Yeah.
All right. We got any more for this part? Last piece. So it's like, why do you think it is important for people in the relationship to be emotionally vulnerable with each other, or feel comfortable, you know, to be emotionally vulnerable?
I feel like emotional vulnerability is connected to intimacy. And if you listen to the last podcast where we were talking about, like, the different relationships, nice and thank you, and the like 3 things that you need in a relationship. So you need passion, you need intimacy, and you need commitment. And so in most relationships you have some combination of the 3, but in the, like, supreme top tier relationship, you have all
God
three.
mode, yeah.
Yeah.
All three equally, like all them, like,
yeah.
yeah.
The Holy Trinity.
The Holy
passion,
Trinity.
Commitment and intimacy. But I think intimacy is the foundation of most close relationships. So in your friendships, you have intimacy. In your familiar relationships, you have intimacy. Like the ability to be able to share what you're feeling emotionally, honestly communicate those feelings and feel heard and seen is like the cornerstone, I feel like, of a good relationship.
And trust.
Yeah, and trust, right? Like all of those things are the cornerstones of a good relationship. And so if you don't have emotional vulnerability, you probably don't have the relationship that you want. It's probably going to feel very shallow and very like surface level.
Like in a situation where it's like you feel like you're surrounded by people, but you still feel utterly alone. And that's not a place anyone wants to be. People be unaliving themselves behind that. Yeah. So
what about you? Why do you think it's important?
For me, and I would say for men as well, I think it helps with the trust. And I think for men, being able to trust their partner is of the utmost importance. So if I can't trust you, I gotta change how I move around you. I can't speak how I want to speak or how I would like to speak with you. I can't, I can't be me. I can't be myself. And if I can't be myself in like my place of where I'm supposed to be able to be myself, or where I'm supposed to be able to lay my head at, it's not going to be good. I'm going to seek that out elsewhere. So I think being able to be emotionally vulnerable would help speed along that process of building the trust and getting there. Well, you can't be emotionally vulnerable without the trust. So they play on each other.
Yeah,
and it makes it easier for men to get to that commitment. I can tell you that much off top. So if I feel like I can get that from you, and you know what I'm saying, you locked in. That's how you get chose. That's how women get chose. That's how women get chose. That's how side chicks become main.
That intimacy,
that level of intimacy and the trust, and the ability to, like, I think a lot of dudes who aren't emotionally vulnerable, if they meet a woman who can make them feel that way, like,
that's top tier.
You got them forever. I mean, but that's just me talking.
I mean, yeah, I think that's true, though. I think that there's people who are not conscious of that desire, and or their consciousness of it, they're writing off, right? They're like sweeping under the rug, like, but our relationship is so great. We have all these other things. So like, it's okay that we don't have this thing that is like important. Like, I'm just going to sweep this under the rug. And even relationships that like are happy in a lot of ways may be missing
that key component.
Yeah, that key component, or haven't reached the depths of emotional vulnerability that their time maybe implicates. Like, we've been together for X amount of years, and so I've always known what now has looked like.
Right.
But we never talked about the past, or like we never had an opportunity to reflect on, these things that have happened over the years, and like really be able to talk those things through and get emotionally vulnerable in that way. We've experienced a lot of life together. You don't remember back in 2006? Like, shit was wild. Like, let's talk about that and like what you were thinking and feeling and experiencing at that time in a different way. And so the other thing for me about emotional vulnerability is that it doesn't stop. Like, it has to,
It doesn't exist in the value.
Yeah. It is something that I feel like, consistently have to choose to do. And it is something that will look different over time.
Agreed. Yeah, I think vulnerability is kind of like a garden. You got to do a little bit of work. Some things don't require as much work. Other things you got to be on top of it. I mean, some plants, you plant that motherfucker, water it, and you Gucci. Sometimes you ain't even got to water it. You got to water maybe once every blue moon, like cactuses and things like that. But some things, like, if you don't water that motherfucker, you're not, tending to it constantly, that motherfucker gonna die. And I think that is the same when it comes to like the general relationship and like the vulnerability and the stuff that within it.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. So, final food for thought.
Yeah.
I feel like I just said mine.
I think you did.
Yeah.
But let's see. Final food for thought about emotional vulnerability. I feel like the thing that comes to mind for me is that emotional vulnerability has a place in all of your relationships.
Facts.
Because it is connected to intimacy. You've had an opportunity to practice this in different ways, in different forms in other relationships. So don't feel like you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing in this context, but you do have a little bit of experience to be able to draw on and lean from, draw from and lean on. Woo. And so use them, like use those experiences as your guideposts to help you, in a space where you're in a romantic relationship and have a desire to be emotionally vulnerable, recreate the setting, if that makes a difference. Like if you know that you like, some of my best conversations have been in this type of environment. Like if I'm outside laying down, like looking up at the stars, it's easier for me to be emotionally vulnerable. If we are away from technology and like in a different space on the beach, something like that, it's easier for me to be emotionally vulnerable. And so try to do the things that you can to recreate those spaces. If it is something as simple as like, I need to, feel this about this person before I can be emotionally vulnerable, or the time thing. Like I need to have this much time before I can be emotionally vulnerable with someone. Like do what you can to recreate those spaces to make it easier for yourself. And then for whoever you're going to be emotionally vulnerable with, hopefully the expectation is that they do the same in return. And so
That's true. The reciprocity has to be there as well.
Remember that for all that it took for you to be able to speak your truth and like say things, it may take the same, if not more, for that other person. So try to be as understanding as possible.
That's real.
Yeah. What about you, babe?
What?
Oh, you just gonna?
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
Vulnerability is a garden.
It's a garden. You got to tend to that bit. Some things need a little bit more care. Some things you can kind of, you don't have to see to as often. I'm not saying you don't have to see it to at all. I'm saying there's some things you might need to focus on more often than others. But at the end of the day, you have to tend to that garden in order for it to flourish and, for you to do one bit best at show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All
right. With that being said, I appreciate each and every one of y'all.
We do.
Tuning in for another week of the Buffet Podcast with Brandan and Ciandra. I'm saying, please go ahead and subscribe, leave a comment if you feel the need. If you would like, let us know how you feel, things of that nature.
Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell their cousin. We are also trying to get to 100 subscribers.
Yes, 100.
Hoping for some good rates and reviews on Apple Podcasts. So please, if you have not previously rated us, reviewed us, left a little comment, please do. We've been checking and looking, and we will start to read some of them as soon as we see them pop up on the Apple Podcast.
Or YouTube.
And then if you have a question you want us to discuss on the podcast, you can send it to us via email at thebuffetpod, all one word, @gmail.com. We might just shout you out, and we would be happy to cover a topic that you're interested in.
All right. With that being said, peace.
Bye.